Newcastle United are amazing. It's annoying, but it's true. There are 3 reasons why Newcastle United are so good, and we shall explore them. Number 1 is obviously loads of money. If you spend fortunes on players such as Burn, Trippier, Pope, Bruno Guimaraes and Alexander Isak, you are obviously going to elevate your entire football club. That is one reason. Number 2 is Eddie Howe. Eddie Howe is sensational. He has the best defensive record in the league. They have only conceded 9 goals. And when you think, prior to him getting the job, people were suggesting that he couldn't sort a defence out. He is sensational. Fair play to Eddie Howe. He is the second reason. But the jewel in the crown as to why Newcastle United are so good is this man, Jack Grealish. Jack Grealish has created a monster in Miguel Almiron. He has created a player so determined and so brilliant that he has actually left Jack Grealish in his shadow. If you are a season ticket holder at St James's Park, what you need to be doing is organising a banner on the Gallagher end of Jack Grealish sitting on a bench, because he has inspired this team to potentially top 4 qualification this season. Before we get into discussing the brilliance of Newcastle United, I think it's only right that I put my cards on the table. I do not want this to succeed. I do not want Newcastle United to do well. I am desperate for Newcastle United to fall away as we enter the new year. I really do not enjoy the success of Newcastle United. There are many reasons why I do not. Formerly, Newcastle were a club that I quite admired. They were a club that I quite liked. I've married a Geordie. My kid is half a Geordie. My in-laws are all Geordies. I spend an awful lot of time in that neck of the woods. I was at St James's Park when Chelsea played them on the last day of the season when we were champions, and I had a brilliant night celebrating with Newcastle United season ticket holders. It was a club I formerly liked, but all of that love was prior to my friendship with the true Geordie. And I must admit that now my entire raison d'etre revolves around Newcastle United not succeeding for simply this one man. This one man is driving me crazy. I am in a WhatsApp group with him, and his desire to talk about all things Newcastle United is driving me crazy. I am so desperate for it to fail because of him. I cannot talk anymore about the brilliance of Eddie Howe with this man. I think he is convinced that Eddie Howe is the Messiah. I think he wants to marry Bruno Guimaraes. I think he thinks Kieran Trippier and him are friends. He keeps calling him Trips. I cannot cope with what is going on. And the fact that he feels the need to tell me how good Newcastle United are every 30 minutes of every single day is driving me to distraction. Therefore, there are many reasons why I could find resolve and confirmation in Newcastle United failing. But the real reason why I would enjoy Newcastle United failing is to rub it in the true Geordie's face on every episode of The Kickoff. Thank you very much. Eddie Howe deserves nothing but our utmost respect. He has done wonderful things since he entered that club. They were a club in disarray. Yes, the feeling around the club was good. There was a euphoria element to the Gallagher, but it was a dire team who had been mismanaged for decades under Ashley. Steve Bruce was probably the worst manager in their history, and Eddie Howe had to take the reins off the back of all of that. It wasn't an easy job. It didn't start off brilliantly. Do you remember when they were dumped out of the FA Cup? Cambridge, wasn't it? But wow, what a transformation. And Eddie Howe is the reason that things have been going well. I think if we were snide, if we were sneery towards Newcastle United, we would focus on the money. And obviously the money helps. But Eddie Howe is the reason. He is so impressive. And you have to remember that when he arrived, people were worried about his defensive record. And his desperation for attacking emphasis was going to be seen as his downfall. But he's managed to spin it. He's managed to preserve his love of attacking football, but create a team that presses, and their press is part of their defence. Keep the ball up the pitch, and ultimately that is a way of defending. It is sensational what Eddie Howe has done at that club. So Eddie Howe obviously conforms to the theory that suggests the best form of defence is attack. But he has also worked miracles with this defence. Yes, they have brought in some good players, but he deserves credit for that. Being a shrewd negotiator and being across the transfer market and the transfer window is impressive and a prerequisite of a good manager. Bringing in players such as Dan Burn, bringing in players such as Kieran Trippier is a statement and also a very intelligent purchase. Kieran Trippier is elite. That is a fact. Kieran Trippier is an elite level footballer. And signing Kieran Trippier was such an astute move. You are bringing in a player who knows exactly what it takes to win. You are bringing in a player who played and won La Liga under Diego Simeone. You are bringing in a player who has a proven track record, and you are bringing in a player who can compete with anyone and has done it at the very top. Simply having a player like that around the club is a sea change for Newcastle United. Another monstrous string to Eddie Howe's bow is the fact that he is prepared to keep learning. A lot of people, this isn't explicit to footballers, a lot of people think that they are experts in their field and they don't want to keep developing and they don't want to keep learning. That isn't true of Eddie Howe. Eddie Howe went off to Atletico Madrid to learn from Diego Simeone and how to set up a defence. When people were suggesting that Eddie Howe couldn't marshal a defence, couldn't set up a team to be defensive, he went to Spain to learn from one of the masters. That is a very honourable trait. To open yourself up to improvement and to open yourself up to the reality that you have flaws is such an admirable quality. And the fact that he went over to Atletico Madrid, spent time with them, watched how they drilled their impeccable defence, it is clearly working for Howe. Self-improvement and being ready to learn is such a valuable quality. Under Bruce, it was dreadful, wasn't it? They'd always play the back three. It was often a back five. They were so defensive. They were so disjointed. They were basically hoping every game for a moment of magic from Alan St. Maximin, who was basically doing it on his own. So isolated. And the disjointed nature of that team was borderline embarrassing. Compare that to now. They press brilliantly and they win the ball in the attacking third. They defend from the very front. It is such an impressive thing to do, to win the ball when you are on the attack, to win the ball in the attacking third. I think only 2 teams have won the ball in the attacking third more than Newcastle. That makes them so threatening. And it's the intensity. This is what Eddie Howe talks about. He is constantly using the word intensity. I think he's actually had it printed on the wall of the training ground. Intensity. Their identity is intensity. And what they are doing is they are winning the ball in the final third. So a second that they win the ball, the whole team squeeze up the pitch and they're on the attack, and they're likely to create chances because the tactics are so spot on, the fitness levels are through the roof, and crucially, they now have that bit of quality. When you look at the personnel in this Newcastle United team, they are now genuinely worthy contenders for top 4. Callum Wilson, the press from him is unreal. The finishing qualities from him is unreal. And if he could keep fit, he would definitely be going to the World Cup. And if he could keep fit, I think he could definitely be playing for a team that are already in the Champions League. Fitness is his only flaw. But he isn't the only top-class footballer at that club. Joe Linton, what a player he has become. And again, we have to talk about Howe. Eddie Howe creating this machine and one of the best ball-winning midfielders in the league is actually so clever from him, because there was a time when Joe Linton's name was a punchline. When he was playing as that second forward, it just didn't work. Occupying that channel that he just didn't know what to do. Now look at him. He is a man possessed. And he is actually the key to everything good that Alan St. Maximin does. St. Maximin has been on impeccable form this year. He really has been playing well. But part of the reason and part of the credit for St. Maximin's form needs to go to Eddie Howe for having the wherewithal to put Joe Linton over that side on the left to allow St. Maximin the freedom to not necessarily have to track back and do his defensive work. He saves his energy for those explosive moments that can be match-winning moments of a football match. But the reason that he gets away with that is because Joe Linton does enough of the work and has the work rate of 2 men. And no talk about Newcastle United would be complete without a homage to Miguel Almiron, a player that was lambasted by a fellow professional in Jack Grealish. Look, I don't get too personal about this. I don't think it's a big deal. People don't like what Jack Grealish said. I'm not necessarily in that camp. But what a reply from Almiron. I'm about to tell you a stat, and the reason I know this stat is because I am in a WhatsApp group with the True Geordie. Miguel Almiron has scored more goals this month than Jack Grealish has scored in his entire Manchester City career. Trademark True Geordie. What a reply. What a reposit. What a way to answer any critics. And what a fool Jack Grealish looks. I am kidding you not. I honestly think there should be a banner of Jack Grealish on the Gallowgate end. It would be such an insult to Grealish. It would be such a support mechanism for Miguel Almiron. And in Almiron, they now have an intelligent, clever, goal-scoring midfielder who presses like a lunatic and has a vast array of end product. What a player Jack Grealish has created. Maybe a career in management beckons. It's so impressive from Almiron, and I am pleased for him. Look at the volume of goals. In fact, don't look at the volume of goals. Look at the quality of the goals. The quality of strikes that this man is scoring. Sensational stuff. And Newcastle United are on course to make it into the top 4. There is a long way to go, but that could be to their benefit. Lots of teams are going to be playing in Europe. Lots of teams are going to be dropping points. Tottenham, Chelsea, Arsenal, all playing. Arsenal in particular. Thursday, Sunday. It's going to get very intense and very difficult. Newcastle United have the luxury of focusing fully on their Premier League finish. Whilst I concede it's unlikely that Newcastle United will make top 4, they are certainly in with a shout of getting there. Incredible stuff from Newcastle. On some level, I'm happy for their fans. On some level, I'm happy for my wife. But the true Geordie has ruined the whole thing. Thank you so much for watching this video. I do hope you've enjoyed it. If you have, please give it a like. I would really appreciate it if you would drop a like on this video. Click subscribe if you've massively enjoyed it, and have yourself a wonderful day. See you all in a bit.